So today we're going to take a look at how to make data visualizations using a program called Datawrapper. It's free online and very easy to use. As you can see here, there's kind of a list of all the things that I've done on this. I like to make a lot of maps in Pennsylvania, as well as the United States and different types of maps as well. So we're going to just learn how to do one type of map today. So once you're logged on to your Datawrapper site, go in and hover over the Create New, and then go down to Map. And there's a couple different types of maps. You might see these relatively frequently in newspapers or sometimes on television. These symbol maps kind of show you where concentrations of population are. So, this would probably be something related to voting outcomes, and New York City would obviously be a larger circle because of the amount of Democratic population there. We're going to take a look at the choropleth maps, which are very similar to what you see on television during election night and things like that when they try to show us, which states have gone red or blue and which counties. So we hit that, and the very first thing we want to do, you can see there are all types of maps around the world, different regions of the world that you can isolate maps on if that's what you're interested in. We're going to focus in today on the United States, so let's take that in. All right. And you can see there are all types of maps that we could potentially use here, states, counties, congressional districts, and on and on. We're going to just focus on the most simple that we can do here, which is states. So click on that and then hit the word proceed. All right. So now we're at the portion where we can add some data in here and start making our map look fancy. And what we're going to do, there are a number of ways you can upload your data. What I find easiest is just to copy and paste data, put it here, and then it comes back over and ends up in this nice little chart over here. So I gave you some data. Let's go to that. And this is the amount of higher educational institutions that are in each state in the United States. Let's just take a quick look at the data. So we have, the top row, which is just our header, and then we have 50 states. So let's just make sure that our data is correct, and there's only 51 rows here. And sure enough, that's the case. All right, cool. You always want to make sure that your data is correct before you enter it because it saves a lot of problems down the road if you do that right now at the beginning. So let's hover over all that on those two columns, and then let's copy the numbers that we have there and go back over to our Datawrapper. And we'll just go in here and paste that in there, Control V. All right. And then we hit on the button here, and voila, we have got data. Now we just want to cross-check, do these numbers look right? Yes, California is a big state, Delaware's a small state, they've got a small number, things look pretty good. Let's see how many rows we've got here. Again, we've got 51 here. And interestingly enough, I'm not quite sure how this all happens, but I deleted the District of Columbia out of my Excel sheet, and somehow it still adds up here as some kind of a ghost at the bottom. But you can see that that date is not entered because it's not, fully bolded as it is there. So looks all good to me. Now let's go down here. We'll hit the word proceed. Right. And this just helps us to kind of match up our data set here. So our columns and different values, so state of jurisdiction, and that's all good. And then higher education institutions, that looks good to me as well. All right. Now we hit proceed, and then there's a check here. And this gives us an indicator that there may potentially be a data problem. And we look at that, and we see down at the bottom here the District of Columbia might be a data problem because there's no listing for that, but that's fine. We don't want the data from the District of Columbia. We're happy with just the 50 states. We don't necessarily need the District of Columbia. So looks all good to me. So let's hit proceed. Excuse me, here we've got our map, and you can look through all that. You see the numbers in all the states. Now you can do a number of different things here. One of the things is we can have continuous coloring, which means that the more of some quality, so the more higher education institutions you have, the darker it becomes, and the less you have, the less dark it becomes. And you could choose to change the colors to various other things, depending on what you wanted to do. Let's just stick with the default mechanism here. So everything looks good to me. We'll go through here, all kinds of things that you can do. We're just going to stick with the way it is in the default here. All right, so now comes the time in which we have to enter more information to make our map look more professional. So our title will be number of higher education by state. And in the description, we can just put whatever you want in there. Colleges, universities. There, let's just call this higher education institution by state. Say the number of colleges and universities in each state. And this is, we should actually capitalize everything if you're going to do that. And the data is from 2023. All right. Now, where did we get this from? This came from the national, so it came from the national educational statistics. Let's just type that in. We had the website, we would put that there. In the byline, I want everybody to put their name in here, and that way I'll know that you created your chart. For us, let's just name it Policy Class Bowls 205, right? And then you see down here on the bottom, it comes up map created by, the source, you can get the data, and then just created by Datawrapper. That looks all good. Now, one thing that you can do here is put map labels on, and you can add or subtract. So you can make a lot of different things on here. Typically, if I do a state map like Pennsylvania, I might add, 6 or 7 different places around the state. But let's make the assumption that most people understand, what a map of the United States looks like and where the big cities are. So let's take the data labels off of that. And we'll hit proceed again. And we take a look at this, and hit proceed as well. And then hit publish now. Everything looks good. And if you wanted to here, you could take the link for this and add it to a web page, or embed that code into a web page, or forward it to somebody else. And the beauty of giving the link is it comes back to the Datawrapper site, so you can actually scroll through and see all the numbers that are here. Right. We're not going to do that right now, though. We're just going to export this, and that's a PNG. And we're going to download the image. And wait a second, and then that comes up, and voila, you have got your image of the United States and the number of colleges and universities in each state. And you can then download that and send it to me via Canvas. So that's our first example. I'll give you a second example in another video.